shame, how insanely unbelievable when we know intimately and personally the fountain of water, living water, and we still choose to go back to a cistern. Oh God, help us. Oh God, help us, the church. Oh God, help us that we would not ever fall into the trap that Judah fell. Oh Lord. I don't know if you've ever felt where I've been before, but I'm telling you, it's a place that I never want to be back at when I begin to look for things to satisfy and to fulfill me. And when you start doing that, rest assured, nobody has to point it out. Notice it for yourself. There's a form of cistern construction that is going on in your life. I'm going to say something here, and you and I know better, and we do it anyway. You and I know the truth. You've been in church way too long. You know. I know. We know the truth. And we still do it. And we involve ourselves. Now here it goes right here. We involve ourselves in every project that comes down the pipe trying to fill the void that only Jesus can fill.
Amen.
And you say, well, I'm a woman of God. I'm a man of God. I'm in church all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in your everyday life. We allow ourselves to get so busy with the church and so busy with ministry and so busy with this and so busy with that. And your kids play every possible football, basketball, soccer, gymnastics. Oh my, you are so busy. They play the piano, they play the guitar, they play every time you turn around. You're trying to fill your kids up with things. You're trying to fill yourself up with things. I want to tell you today, it's a dangerous place for men and women of God to be. I don't think any of those things are wrong. Matter of fact, I encourage you to make your kids play an instrument. Make them get outside and play. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when that begins to fulfill, and it doesn't fulfill, but it begins to fill and consume, thank you, every part of your lives. So let me give you this today. Give you just a few more moments. My friend Darren shared this with me with the first three things. He said, it's your wallet, it's your warfare, and the worship. That's where they begin to mess up. And then he said this other thing that I thought was just shocking. He said, and do you know the three things that a cistern is used for in the Bible? I said, what? He said, number one, it's used for the provision. Number two, it's used for prisons. And number three, they're used for graves. I want you to hear this today. When we have misdirected worship, I'm talking about addictions. Let's just talk about some things, some big things that we often talk about from the pulpit, and then we're going to get right down where the rubber meets the road, maybe with a lot of us. I'm talking about addiction to drugs or to alcohol or pornography or shopping or the internet or sports or outward appearance or personal agendas or anything like that. At first, they'll seem to satisfy you. That's provision. At first, they seem to satisfy. It's provision. But then you find that it's your prison. Before you know it, you find that you're in a prison to those things. And finally, I can tell you what it is. It will be your grave. It will be the end of your life. And the end of your spiritual life for sure. I'll show you something that I read to Kurt today that was so shocking to me. Now we're going to try to end on an up note. But first we got to deal with where we are. Amen. I'm going to tell you what King Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verse 4 through 12. I think this is a New Living Translation, and you can put it up if you want to, but it doesn't matter. Ecclesiastes 2, verse 4 through 12. Listen to what he said. This is shocking. He said, I also tried to find meaning by building huge homes for myself and planting beautiful vineyards. I made gardens and parks, filling them with all kinds of fruit trees. I built reservoirs to collect the water, to irrigate my many flourishing groves. I bought slaves, both men and women, and others were born into my household. I also owned large herds and flocks more than any of the kings who had lived in Jerusalem before me. Listen to what he said. He said, I collected great sums of silver and gold, the treasure of many kings and provinces. I hired wonderful singers, both men and women, and had many beautiful concubines. I had everything, he said, a man could desire. So I became greater than all who had lived in Jerusalem before me, and my wisdom never failed me. Anything I wanted, I would take. I denied, listen to this, I denied myself no pleasure. I even found great pleasure in hard work, a reward for all of my labors. But as I looked at everything I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless, like chasing the wind, and there was nothing really worthwhile anywhere. I want to tell you, when I began to read those words of Solomon and began to realize what all he had been able to accomplish, but nothing satisfied him. Big homes, beautiful land, beautiful women, slaves, men and women who would do anything he wanted them to do. Money, money, money. And he says, but all is vanity. All is vanity. It's meaningless. It is nothing. I want to encourage you, men and women in this place. We need to return to the fountain of living waters before we discover too late in life that we have made these cisterns and they're all broken and they're not doing you or I a bit of good. Amen. I'll say this tonight. I was shocked as I began to study this, and I want you to hear what happened to the people there in Judah.